Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always, before the video starts, I want to express my eternal gratitude towards those who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal, or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your generosity, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Sadly, due to the unfortunate circumstances, I was forced to skip a whole week, and I would like to apologize to those who expected my videos more frequently. With most of my problems now out of the way, hopefully I will be uploading more frequently. In any way, today's video I will start with the Avdiivka sector and discuss the situation here. All throughout the last week, both Russians and Ukrainians were extremely active here on this front. Here, Russians continue to expand their zone of control around village of Krasnogorivka, in the direction of Ukrainian-controlled village of Novokalinova, Stepove, and Berdiche. They also continue to attack from the recently captured Garbage Mountain in the direction of Avdeevsky coke plant. In the south, Russians continue to expand their zone of control around the village of Opitne by attacking in the direction of Avdeevka itself. Same could be said about village of Spartak, where Russians also attack in the direction of the city. Russian attacks were also reported in the direction of Ukrainian-controlled village of Severne, in the village of Vadyane, and in the direction of Pervomaysky from the settlement of Pisky. Using the rule best defense is offense, Ukrainians answer Russians with the attacks of their own, counterattacking near Novokalinova, Stepove, coke plants, Avdeevka sector all across the front, near Severnaya, in the village of Vadyane and Pervomaysky. At this point, it is hard to say who has the initiative on this front, but I would say the Russians, as they are on the attack and are constantly gaining ground, both north and south of Avdiivka town. In the last 24 hours, Russians made more territorial gains to the north of the village of Krasnogorivka, and as a result of that, captured this much territories from the Ukrainian side. As you can see, the Russians have crossed the rail line which Ukrainians previously used as a pretty convenient defensive line, captured several fields and tree lines with trenches within them, and established an important foothold in case if Russians will plan to attack in the direction of Novokalinova. When it comes to the Avdeevsky coke plant and Stepove Berdiche village, Russian attacks in this direction are less successful as Ukrainians continuously counterattack Russians with most modern equipment they can get. For example, here on the video that you are currently witnessing, you can see Ukrainian Leopard 2 tank advancing along the field, firing at the Russian positions located on the east side of the rail line. Now the source claimed that this tank was spotted by Russian drones and hit by Russian T-72 tank. Although currently it is very hard to prove it, but if it is true, then I believe this is a first instance in which much older T-72 destroyed top-of-the-line Leopard tank. The full video of it, of course, is on my Telegram channel, so if you want to see the full video and hear the Russians celebrating this victory, you can always join my Telegram. The link is in the description below. Then from here, let's quickly touch the situation on the southern flank. Although in the last 24 hours there were no territorial changes, however, a few days ago, as you might know, Russians were able to advance here in this sector, and as you can see, Russians are now one field away from the settlement of Severne. This recent Russian gain is also supported by a successful Russian counterattack near Vadyane in Opitne, in which they were able to recover a significant territory in between the two villages, thus relieving pressure from the settlement of Opitne. The fighting within Vadyane village and Pervomaysky are mostly of positional style. Then from here, let's quickly visit the settlement of Bakhmut and discuss the situation here. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians continued their offensive operations in attempt to increase their zone of control around villages of Klishivka and Andriivka. However, there is no territorial change to report, so it is safe to assume that today they were unsuccessful in those endeavors. They currently are attacking here in the direction of Russian-controlled forests, across the rail line in the general direction of Bakhmut itself, and from Andriivka in the direction of this important road and villages along it. Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Zelenopilya and Kurdyumivka were repelled by the Russians. Then from here, let's visit the northern flank where the territorial changes had appeared. As Ukrainians are advancing on the southern flank, Russians are continuously advancing on the northern one. Here, Russians are constantly attacking Ukrainians from the settlement of Berhivka in the direction of Bogdanivka, from Yagodne across this open field and in the direction of Khromovo, fights in Orikhovo-Vasilivka, and along E40 highway. As a result of a successful offensive operations conducted by the Russians in the last 24 hours, this is how much territory Russians were able to recover from the Ukrainian side. As you can see, small change along the E40 highway, and some gains along the forest near Berhivka reservoir. With the control of this forest, Ukrainian positions along these forest lines are obviously compromised, and if this is not dealt fast enough, we can see the entire portion of this Ukrainian front line crumbling before the Russians. This is an important buffer zone in between Russians and Ukrainian-controlled Berhivka, so perhaps this recent territorial change is an obvious attempt by the Russians to gain control over this village. Then from here let's quickly visit Kupyansk front and discuss situation here also. In the last 24 hours a small territorial change appeared here in between Liman Pershi and Ukrainian-controlled village of Sinikivka. As you can see, slowly but surely they regain some of the positions on this front, and the whole situation had come down to positional style of fighting. Then from here let's quickly jump to the Velyka Novosilka sector and discuss the situation here. Although there are no territorial changes, it is important to note that both Russians and Ukrainians, as some reports suggest, became very active on this front, as Russians continued their attacks in the direction of Livadne and in the general direction of Ukrainian-controlled villages of Novodarivka and Rivnopol. There were also reports of Russian attacks near Zavetno-Bazhanye in the direction of Urozhaine and Staromayorsky, as well as from Novodonetsky and Novomayorsky. Those actions are mirrored by Ukrainian side, and this front has seen a lot of fighting in the last 24 hours. However, despite that, there are no territorial changes to report. From here, let's move to the Orikhiv sector and discuss the situation near Rabotina and Verbovo villages. It seems that Ukrainian forces here in the sector grew tired of constant Russian counterattacks from the villages of Verbovo and Novoprokopivka in the direction of Rabotina, have pulled up some forces and counterattacked in the direction of Verbovo and Novoprokopivka, as well as in the direction of Novopokrovka. Although Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Novopokrovka and Verbovo were successfully repelled by the Russians, Ukrainians were able to advance slightly in between Kompany and Novoprokopivka. Here on this picture, you can see exactly how much territories they were able to recover in that attack. Now, the fact that Russians had a lot of experience fighting on this front, strong dugouts and strongholds, every centimeter of this front, and the fact that every single centimeter of this front line is under constant Russian surveillance and fire control by the Russians, these recent Ukrainian attacks have seen some serious losses. For example, here on this video, you can see Ukrainian Leopard 2 tank smoking on the open fields somewhere near Novoprokopivka village. At first, when I saw this image, I immediately had a flashback from the first few weeks of Ukrainian offensive. You all remember this picture, and I even thought that it is the same, but after all, this seems to be a fresh image. Although Ukrainians are advancing here in this area, but due to the heavy presence of Russian ATGM crews that are now experienced in destroying particularly Western equipment, those offensives are coming at a horrible price. Then from here let's quickly visit the Kherson Oblast and discuss the situation around Ukrainian bridgehead within the village of Krynky. Despite constant Russian counterattacks, they were able to advance here yet again, and here you can see this on this picture. Perhaps with the change of command, the approach have changed too, as Russians stopped counterattacking Ukrainians directly and started using heavy flamethrower systems on Ukrainians within Krynky settlement. Here you can see that on the video on your screen. As you can see, for some reasons those landings are very problematic for the Russians, and to me it is somewhat hard to comprehend why it's the case. Perhaps the problem was within Russian command structure, and with its change, you might see the situation on the front line change also. In any way, I would like to ask you to express your opinion in a comment section below. So this is all that I have for you today. Hopefully my video was informative enough and was to your liking. If it was, please consider supporting it with a like, comment, and if you haven't subscribed, a subscription. Not only these actions are very important for this channel's growth, it also motivates me to work harder and improve my skills. Thank you in advance. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.